Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last episode in SAP UI5 and Fiori training, we give a close to our chapter on jQuery. In today's session, we will start with actual SAP UI5 framework, creating our first UI5 and Fiori application. There is a question here in the chat window from Ramana. Are you going to cover workflow scenario in any of your course? Yes, Ramana. If you join my advanced Fiori course, in that course I will cover the My Inbox app, which actually relates to the workflow scenarios. So My Inbox app, it's part of standard delivery of Fiori applications by SAP, which displays you the work item related to the workflow scenarios as part of your Fiori applications. That will be covered in advanced Fiori course with Fiori Launchpad and security concepts. Let's proceed with today's session. So in the demo session, if you remember what we have done, we have created our first UI5 application in the demo session. In the first UI5 application, if I go back to our demo session, let me just go back to our demo session. I think I don't have that project anymore. In that session, we have created our first UI5 application. We realized that SAP UI5 is a framework which is collection of libraries. Each library is a collection of classes, and each class is a collection of methods, properties, attributes. We use the UI5 framework to develop the applications. So now let's try to understand more about SAP UI5 framework. So guys, one question to all of you. Does browser understand SAP UI5? Anybody? Does browser understand?
No.
SAP UI5? No. Browser does not understand SAP UI5. Browser does not understand SAP UI5. Browser does not understand any programming language, in fact. What does the browser understand? Browser only understands HTML, CSS, and JavaScript directly. So, what the UI5 framework? So, in that case, how? I would say how the UI5 framework is able to help us to create the applications. How come we are using UI5 libraries to be able to create our application? The reason behind that is SAP UI5 is built on top of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. It is built on top of these things. There are not just these things, there are more things like Data.js, D3.js, Less. These are all the different frameworks which are open standards. SAP UI5 is built upon. It's based on open standards. What is exactly happening behind the scenes? Let's try to look at. This is very interesting and important for us to understand. We are using SAP UI5 framework and its libraries to write some piece of code. Okay, we will reuse SAP UI5 framework and its libraries to write some piece of code. So this is a piece of code which we write using SAP libraries. Now this code, when we submit to the browser, in the browser already inside the browser there is something called UI5 framework which is running already. Okay, SAP UI5 framework is running already in the browser. We got to load prerequisite in the browser. We we load the UI5 framework from anybody. What are all the two ways to load a JS file into the browser? What are all the two ways to load a JS file into the browser? Anyone? What are all the two ways? If you remember the last class, we saw that two techniques. One is using local reference. Another is using CDN, Content Distribution Network. You remember the jQuery? We loaded jQuery either with local reference or we load from CDN. So we got to load similarly SAP UI5 framework as part of our browser, first of all, using local CDN or local or CDN. This is done by which tag? Anybody, which tag did we use the other day to load jQuery from CDN? Anyone? Which tag did we use? Perfect answer. We used script tag with src property. In that we have given the file. Now this is actually initial loading. Yeah, this is initialization. That's why it's called booting. It's called bootstrap. Bootstrap is a piece of code which is helping you to load the initially the SAP UI5 framework. That's what Bootstrap is doing. So this is what the Bootstrap does. It loads the initialization, or it does the initialization. That's why it's called Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is nothing but a piece of code which loads SAP UI5 framework in the browser. Okay, so let's do that. I can come back. I right click, create a new folder. Just name it my first UI5 app. And now inside of this, I'm going to create a new file. And I can say index.html. And let's create an HTML with doc type declaration. HTML is, it has a header and it has a body. In the header, we will put a script tag, src property, and we're going to put here the CDN URL, SAP UI5.hana.ondemand.com/resources /SAP UI core.js. This is what called loading of SAP UI framework. Is this line clear to everybody? How am I loading SAP UI5 framework? Is this line clear, everybody? What is this line called technically? What do you call this piece of code? What do you call this whole piece of code? This whole piece of code is known as Bootstrap. What it is known as? Bootstrap of SAP UI5. We are loading, initializing SAP UI5 framework. That's why this piece of code is known as Bootstrap code. Not just this much, you have to also mention which library you would like to use. So you have to say SAP data SAP UI libs property, and then we say sap.m. I want to use SAP mobile library, and then you have to also mention which theme you would like to load, which coloring you want to load. So data SAP UI theme equals to SAP blue crystal. These three parameters you give, and that becomes your Bootstrap. Is that clear, everybody? The Bootstrap for SAP UI5. Let's gonna execute this. So this is every single line of code. No copy paste, guys. Let's execute this. I'm gonna run as usual in another window. So I'm just gonna run this in another window. So it's just working up. I can right click and inspect. I can go to sources, and voila, you can see here SAP UI5 HANA-on-demand.com. System has loaded the resources and it has loaded SAP M library. Library now has lots of classes, guys. You see, It has lots of classes, button, action button, app, lots of bar. It has lots of classes inside. This is what exactly it includes. Yeah, that's what system has loaded for you. SAP UI5 framework. And now to get that feel, you just add a class name, SAP UI body, and you will see this is a standard class name which I'm using. SAP provides this class. According to this class, inside this framework, there is a CSS file which is getting loaded. That CSS file understand what is SAP UI body. This class name, according to this class name, they've done some styling. So the moment I put this class at my body level, you will see now the body color will change to light blue color. You can see the light blue color. That's Fiori like color. If you see Fiori apps, you can see this is the color which becomes it becomes the same color as if like Fiori color, right? This is the color of Fiori screens. So that is possible because of styling, and we need to understand that we have put SAP UI body as the class name, which SAP UI5 framework, when it is loading, it understand. If you don't mention the class name, then will the content be loaded? Yes, there is no problem, but you will not get styling. You will not get this background color, okay? The content will still be loaded, but you will not get the background color, guys. Okay, that is what will happen. It will still work. Now, so there is a question from Sudeep Anubhav. I missed yesterday's class. When can I access video? I'm working on it. There is some issue going on. I've sent an email also to all of you. Please hold on for some more time. I'm working on it. There is some technical issue from my server side. So we are working on it. Please give me some more time. Hopefully by today afternoon it will get resolved. Hopefully. Okay. Now coming back. So this becomes my body of UI5 content. Let's write some other script now. So I'm going to write a script. And in this script, what we will do is we will write some piece of code. And we will tell the system, hey system, can you please create a button for me? So var, and what is the syntax to create a new control in SAP UI5? What is the syntax to create a new UI control in SAP UI5? The syntax is var control name equals to new class name dot library name. So library name dot class name, and then inside SID and S properties. This is the syntax. We saw the same thing in demo also. SID here is the unique ID of control, and S properties are properties control. That's what it does. Let's have a look at it. I want to create a button, so I will go and say var btn button. New sap.m is the library name and button is the class name. Watch out, guys, that's the beauty. Library name dot class name. Watch out, important point again. Class name always starts with capital letter. Okay, class name always starts with capital letter. Now inside of these we will write some property. Let's say text property for button. Let's say click me. And now we have to place this button into the body of HTML. Let's put the div element, then ID. I can say content. I will say, hey, can you please take this button and push this button to the content of my HTML so that whatever is there in body will be visible to the user. Fox, if you remember, button.place at, and I'll say please place it in the content. Watch out the name of the method. It follows exactly the naming convention. First letter small, next consecutive word, first letter is capital. Come back, refresh your page, you can see a nice button on the UI. Refresh, voila, you can see a button is coming on the UI, guys. But do you think, what is this button? How come it is coming? Does browser understanding UI5? There are two important points. Point one, browser don't understand UI5 until unless you load the UI5 framework inside the browser, which we already did. We have already loaded the UI5 framework here into the browser. You can see this one. That's why browser is able to understand. However, the style of code, writing the code is JavaScript. You see, we are writing a JavaScript code. This JavaScript code is submitted to the UI5 framework, and then UI5 framework is producing equivalent HTML code inside the DOM, and that equivalent HTML code inside the DOM is bringing this button on the UI. Again, understand the process. We are writing some JavaScript code. This JavaScript code is executed by UI5 framework loaded in the browser, and then this UI5 framework is producing an HTML output. That HTML output is placed in the body of HTML. The DOM is prepared by UI5 framework. This DOM, the moment it is submitted to the browser, browser displays you the output automatically. That is what is happening, guys, here. Let us see now on the system in action. So what is exactly happening here? You write some JavaScript code using library and class. The UI5 framework is being loaded in the browser. SAP UI5 framework has two important components. One is called SAP UI5 runtime component, and one is called SAP UI5 design time component. So SAP UI5 has two components. The first component is SAP UI5 design time component, and second is SAP UI5 runtime component. These are two components SAP UI5 has. The SAP UI5 runtime component, however, has something called renderer. It has something called renderer inside the runtime component. This renderer converts whatever code you give, JavaScript code you give as an input. It converts this JavaScript code to equivalent HTML, CSS code. Is that clear, everybody? It is converting just the code which you gave. That's what UI5 framework loaded in the browser is doing. It is converting to equivalent HTML and CSS code. Okay, that is given to the browser. The moment browser receives HTML, CSS, it simply does its job. That's what browser does. And this is how exactly every framework works today, be it Android, be it AngularJS, be it WebDim Pro, be it BSP. They all just converts the code, corresponding code, what you give to the framework, converts to the equivalent HTML and CSS code, which browser understand directly. Is that clear, everybody? So everything is getting ultimately converted to HTML and CSS. That's what browser is doing. That's what, sorry, your framework is doing. Hence, browser can understand it directly, whatever is output, and browser displays it. Okay. Now, there's a question. Can you tell me how did you copy the URL to run in another browser? It's very simple. Just go run the project. On the top, you got the URL. Copy that URL from the top. Just go into the another browser session, paste it there, and that's it. It's so easy. Second question is from Sudeep. The way we created simple button using HTML5 looks so simple as compared to UI5. Yes, it is so simple as compared to UI5, the button which we created in HTML. But guys, the framework gives you a lot of power. Framework gives you a lot of power. Let's see some interesting stuff. So now I come back and I will add an ID here. So if you go to the DOM, you will see that button will be added here. in the DOM you see, but the ID of the button is something underscore underscore button 0. The reason of this ID button 00 something is because this particular object is automatically generated by UI5 and you have not specified the ID here in the syntax. So if I give ID here, let me give ID Anubhav. Watch out now. I give the ID to UI5 control. When I'm creating the object of UI5 control, I'm giving the ID of it. I save this. I refresh on the right. And now you see, can you see guys, the ID of the button is exactly matching of what I supplied to the ID of UI5 control. That's the beauty. You don't have to worry about styling this button. You see, it looks beautiful. That is automatically done by UI5 framework. This is the first benefit of using UI5. The second benefit, you can do lot of stuff by just invoking this object. You can work with this object. You don't have to work with HTML object. Don't work with HTML object. You have to work with UI5 element object. I will show you the difference between them. Suppose now there is a requirement to hide the button object. Anybody? Suppose there is a requirement to hide this button object. What do you do? What do you do to hide the button object? Anybody? Won't you use jQuery or something else, right? You will use jQuery dollar hashtag control dot hide. Isn't that you will use to hide a button? Yes, of course. jQuery we learned in last class. Press enter. You see the button is gone. Yeah. Now, if you want to display it again, you will say show. This is how you use jQuery to hide and display the button. Correct, guys? There is a better way. The better way here is, okay, let me just put the code. Example, work with HTML object versus UI5 object of the control. That's an example. Here we want to hide the button, so we used hide and show. What do you think this method is working? Why? It's working on which object? This thing is giving you object of what? Anybody? What is the object? This thing dollar this thing is giving object of what to you? Or if I do, for example, document dot get element by ID, it gives you an object of what? Anybody? What it does? Anyone? What it does? It gives you the object of button. Okay. This button object is an HTML object. Remember, again, I'm repeating. This is the most important part. It is an HTML element object, isn't it, guys? This is an HTML element object. This is an HTML element object. This is an HTML element object. This is an HTML element object, guys. This is an HTML element object. This is an HTML element object. This is an HTML element object, isn't it? When you come back, watch out again. I do document dot get element by ID and I say ID Anubhav. And I store this in a variable var x. What do you think x is? It's an HTML element object. It's the object of HTML element which I got from DOM. If I want to hide this button, I have to say x dot style dot display equals to none. To hide this button, I have to use either jQuery or use this code in HTML, isn't it? Center, you see the button is gone. So I can say display again. X. You can see it displays the button again. Yeah, I have to write lot of HTML code to be able to hide and display button. Why? Why, guys? Because it's an HTML object, right, guys? It's an HTML object. I have to do all of this stuff to be able to work with this control, hide and display this, either use jQuery or use HTML element object. Now watch out another thing. Can I obtain the object of UI5 element? Remember, when we started, we created a UI5 object. This gentleman here on the left side of your screen, line number 12 to 14. What is this O button? Anybody? What is this O button? Is this an HTML object? What is this O button? This is a UI5 object. This is the object of the button control in UI5 framework. Okay, it's a UI5 object. What benefit you gonna get with this if I obtain this? So point one, funda fox of today's class: how to obtain object of SAP UI5 control. There are two ways to do that. Okay, the first technique is called using SAP UI5 runtime object of running application. Second is using the view object when the control is inside a view. Very important, guys. Without this, you will never be able to work with UI5 if you miss out these two important aspects. Okay? If you miss out these two things, you will never be able to work with UI5. Never ever. First thing, how to obtain the object of running application runtime. What do I mean by running application? This whole thing on the right side is your running application, isn't it, guys? This whole thing on the right side, which you see on the browser, this whole thing which you see here, this whole thing, don't you think this whole thing is your running application? This is whole thing what you see here on the right side. Don't you think this is your application? This is your application. This whole thing is your application. I want to obtain an object of this whole application running on the right side. It's runtime. How do we obtain? We use a method provided by UI5 called sap.ui.getCore. We use SAP UI getCore to be able to obtain an object of this whole of application. Okay. You can also test it directly into the console. You can check if it is giving you that object which you are looking for. So just come here, SAP UI getCore. Just do that. There you go. You can see the object of running application. Entire application runtime it is giving an object. इस application का object है ये किसका object है? इस application का object है ये. This SAP UI getCore is the object of your running application. Okay. So this is first important thing, how to obtain the object of running application. I'm going to ask this question in almost every class. I'm going to ask this question in almost every class from today onwards. Let me see how many of you will go back today and watch my PPT, watch my recording so that you will remember this. I'm going to ask this question in every class from today onwards. Every class. So let's see how many of you will remember this. What does give you the running instance of application runtime? Anybody? What gives you the object of application runtime object of running application? Anybody? SAP UI getCore. Watch out here. G is small, C is capital. getCore. G is small, C is capital. यहाँ गलती मत करना, बहुत तकलीफ हो जाएगा आपको. SAP UI getCore gives you the instance, running instance of runtime instance of running application. Runtime instance of running application. Runtime instance of running application. Runtime instance of running application of your app. This is what it gives you. Of your app, it's going to give you the runtime instance of running application. Come on guys, everybody with me, please write it in the chat window. What thing gives you the running instance of runtime application? I can see answer from Sudeep, Madhikaran, Syed, Harita, what about others? Please write in the chat window. Vivek, yes, you're right. SAP UI Get Core gives you the running instance. The running instance of runtime. Deepak also right. Perfect answer, Deepak. Running instance. Geeta also right. Perfect answer, Geeta. Rajshekharan, perfect. Ramana, perfect. Yamini, very good. Surya, very good. Med, very nice. Srinivas, very good. Uday, KS, Khushbu, Anu, every one of you are right. Perfect answer. This gives you the running instance of runtime application. Now, how this instance helps you? This is giving you an object, guys. This object further has a method inside. The method which we're going to use to obtain the UI5 object is by ID. This is the method we are going to use of running instance to obtain the object of UI5 control now. Okay, in this you will pass the ID of the control which you created. Okay, that's what we will be using. That is option number 1. Option number 2, we need to first obtain the view object and then obtain the control object from view object. Now ये suddenly view कहाँ से आ गया? This word, where did this word come from? We have no clue about this word. How did you presented this word? So this word comes from MVC architecture, which we are going to learn in next class. Model View Controller Architecture, MVC architecture. Right now, just understand that this comes from MVC architecture. We will work with modularization. We will not write every single screen in single file. We're going to modularize it. Okay, screen by screen, we're going to modularize. Screen is actually a view. First, you need to obtain the view object. That is obtained using this dot get view method. So later on, I will show you this method. Right now, just rat lo isko. So remember by heart this. Don't do anything. Right now, I cannot show you this. You just remember this dot get view gives you the view object. And then using this view object, by ID of the view, we will get the UI control. That's what we will be doing. We will get the object of UI control by doing by ID. Clear everybody? Is that clear everybody? What is the whole thing we are happening here? So get view gives the object of the so this will give you the view object, and then with the view object you're going to call this method to be able to obtain UI5 control object. Okay, let's see the whole single line. If you write this using chaining in JavaScript, you will write this dot get view dot by ID as the ID, and this will obtain the object of the UI control. Here everybody, the syntax, the second syntax you will use over option you have. So these two options we have. So guys, can you tell me the complete line to obtain the object of my UI control, which is here, the button object? If I want to obtain, what do I write here in console? What do I write to obtain with option number 1? With option number 1, what do I write to obtain the object of my button control here? Object of my button control, if I want to obtain, what do I write here anybody? With option number 1, I want to obtain object of my button control. What do I write? Perfect answer, Uday and Sudeep, you both has got the right answer. The first thing you got to do is first to obtain the runtime instance of running application, which is SAP UI Get Core. So come here, SAP UI Get Core. And then on top of this, there is a method called by ID. You see, by ID is a method of that. It's called the by ID. and pass the ID of control. What is the ID of my control? 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 Perfect answer. This is the ID which I gave. Pass that ID over here and you're gonna get an instance of UI5 control. That's the ID of my control. I pass it here, press enter. Watch out, BTN, this is your button object. But this time, is this an HTML object? Is this an HTML object? Anybody? Is this an HTML object? No, it is a UI5 object. It is not an HTML object. This time it's a UI5 object. This is a UI5 object, guys. It's not an HTML object. It's a UI5 object. So example, this will give you the object. And now, guys, what's the beauty of this object? I can do a lot with this button object. I can say btn.set enabled. Please enable my button to false, set enable to false property. Watch out on the UI, guys. Watch out. On the UI, see the button become disabled. The moment I make my set enable false, the button become disabled, non-clickable. I can't click on the button. See the power of UI5 object. So easy to work with the UI5 object rather than HTML object. HTML में जाते तो लग जाती. If you would have gone to HTML option, using HTML object, you would have to write lots of styling code for that. Here it's very easy to work with this object, UI5 object, very easy. I want to know what is the label for button. You can say btn dot get text. There you go. This is the label of the button. Now anybody, mark lagao, thoda common sense lagao. Tell me if I want to change the label for the button at runtime. Using something, I want to change the label of this button at runtime. What do I do? Very good, Ramana. You have a get method. Definitely there will be set method, guys. So set text kar do. Get ka ulta set. Get for that. Get ka ulta set. If there is a get, there will be a set. Yeah, get ka ulta set. Get a setter. Get a setter. Get a setter. If I say set and I say Anubhav and I say enter, you see the button label changed to Anubhav. Wow, guys, amazing. Can you see the power of UI5 object? This is the real benefit you get when you use UI5 object button. You get this ready-made method by UI5 framework. These methods you can use and you can utilize these methods to perform multiple variety of activity. So what is an exercise? The exercise here now is change the button. Change the button label. To change the button label, when I click on the button ka label must change. What is the exercise? When I click on the button ka label must change. Do you all understand the exercise? What we're trying to do now? When you click on button ka label must change, guys. When you click on button ka label must change. How do you do that? So come back here and say press action. Press is an action function. I'm writing a JavaScript function. I'll say please get me the button object. So I can say obtn or whatever you like. You can say loop equals to sap.ui.getCode. This gives you the object of running instance of running application. You can also do like this. You can say instance and then you can say var btn equals to instance dot by id. And the ID of my control ID above. Then you can say btn dot set text. You clicked on it, man. You clicked on it, man. Save this and refresh and watch out, guys. What will happen when I click on button? Anyone? What will happen? The user press an action. A user perform an action on the UI. This triggers an event. So press is an event which is triggering. On an action, there is a reaction. So with an action called click, there is a reaction called event. Is this clear, everybody? And every action which you do has a reaction. What is the reaction? The reaction is an event. Now you must be wondering, Anubhav, in the HTML we were using on click, right? In HTML JavaScript unit we were using on click, but here we are using press. How do you know that there is a press event? How do you know, Anubhav? I am going to come to that doubt. Please park your doubt at this moment. It will be heavy dose of antibiotic. You will die. Okay, right now just see, there is an action. It has a reaction. The reaction is your event. When this event is triggering, I'm calling a function. Now W3 schools won't help you here. W3 school का मामला वहीं तक था. W3 school only help you with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. It won't help you with UI5 now. For UI5 we have something else. I'll tell you that. So now when you click on the button, it triggers an event, and this event is called press event. This is standard. It comes from something called toolkit. I will explain you that in a minute. And then when it triggers, it calls a function. In this function, we first obtain the instance of running application. Then we do get the object of the UI control, and then we change the text of the button at runtime using setText method. Is that clear, guys? Are all the steps clear to you at least? I'm sure it's not clear where the press coming from, but are all the steps clear with you with the step by step? Is this all clear to you, all of you? Clear or not? Please confirm. Yes or no? Please confirm. If it is clear, so why not click on the button? Boom, there you go. The moment I click on the button, you can see the click has been performed, and you click on it, man. That was the text we have given. Can you simplify this whole code? Anybody? Can you write this whole code in a single line? Can you write this whole code in a single line? Why not? Why not? Which concept in JavaScript I used to write this in a single line? Which concept in JavaScript I used to write in a single line? Which concept in JavaScript? Any concept. Wow, SAP UI get core. It gives me this gentleman on top. I'm calling by ID, not by ID. I can say by ID, ID and above. And then on top of this, I call the setText method. I don't have to create lots of local objects. setText method. Areva, 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 areva. Okay, let's see. Come back, refresh the page, and let's see what will happen when I click on the button. Anybody, what will happen when I click on this button? What will happen? It will be areva, 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 areva. There you go, areva, areva. Wow, guys. SAP UI5 listening to me very carefully and doing my job. SAP UI5 framework, that's a biggest benefit. It's a biggest benefit. I can do further chaining. I can say dot set visible equals to false. इसको hide कर दो बटन को UI5 मेरे लिए. Please, मेरे लिए इस बटन को गायब कर दो स्क्रीन से. Please make this button disappear for me. Hey UI5, can you make this button disappear for me? I just tell to the UI5, UI5 will do this for me. Click on the button and the button is gone from the UI. Wow guys, that's the beauty of UI5 framework. अगर HTML में करने जाओगे तो what लग जाएगी? It will be huge amount of code. That's why we're using UI5 object. So guys, are you clear? The difference between HTML object and UI5 object. Are you clear? The difference between HTML object and UI5 object. Are you clear with the difference between HTML object and UI5 object? If you are clear, let us proceed. See, where can we find this action? Where can we find this action, guys? कहीं तो मिलेगा, कभी तो मिलेगा. आज नहीं तो कल कहीं तो मिलेगा. Let's find it out. Where can we see this action? Where can we see this? How do I know there is a text property? Yeah. How do I know there is a press event? How do you know there is something else, right? So how do we know all these things? We will know that from SAP UI5 SDK. SDK stands for Software Development Kit. SAP is very smart. They are not just build a framework, but they build something called development kit for you. The software development kit UI5 SDK is designed for developers to go and check the documentation for the applications for the UI controls. Okay. It is designed for developers to go and check the documentation for the UI controls. Okay, you have a UI control, you want to see its documentation. This you will get lots of sample example of using the control with its key functionality. That's what it will include. Now, what do you mean by key functionality? It includes for every control, it includes SAP, its properties, its events, its methods, its aggregations. These are all the 4 key ingredients of a control. चाय बनाई है किसी ने? चाय बनाते हो? चाय किचन में चाय बनाते हो? कॉफी बनाते हो? कॉफी चाय बनाते हो? चाय. When you make chai and coffee in the kitchen, what are all the things you mix up to make it, right? Some people put elaichi, some people put ginger, some people put black pepper. Yeah, there are different varieties. Some people put masala, some people put, and the main ingredients are chai patti or the coffee, and then you add up some milk and sugar or sugar free. That's how you make a chai. That's exactly a control is built. Your control is your chai, and these are all ingredients of the chai. A control is incomplete without an ingredient. Okay, just the way chai is incomplete without chai patti. Coffee is incomplete without coffee and milk. Without these things, a control is incomplete. A control includes these many things: properties, events, methods, and aggregation. If you carefully observe, I told you control is a class. UI control is a class, and exactly that's what a class includes: properties, events, methods, and aggregation. So where can you see this UI5 SDK? There is a place where you can Google it, or you can go to directly this URL, SAP UI5.ondemand.hana.ondemand.com. That's where you can see UI5 SDK. Before we move on, let me take up quickly some questions in the chat window. Some people complain less flexibility with UI5 as compared to HTML5. Who are all those people? You can shut their mouth after learning this course. After you complete this course, you can show them how come it is less flexible. Believe me, Sudeep, you will say why not. Today, they are telling you because they have half knowledge. They have half knowledge. It is impossible that a UI5 cannot do something which HTML can do. It can do more than what is HTML can do. You will understand that. Okay. AngularJS, I am not sure. Maybe you might have worked with AngularJS. I have not worked with AngularJS, guys. So I cannot complain. I cannot compare at this point Angular versus UI5. But at least HTML5 wise, you will yourself tell me 100 things why it is beneficial as compared to HTML. Okay. You will answer yourself that thing. Please wait for some time. Then only you will be able to answer that. Next question, what is the difference between UI5 object and jQuery object? When to use one another as compared to each other? jQuery object is also an HTML object. Okay, it doesn't give you the benefit of what UI5 object gives you. So if I just quickly show you once again, let me obtain the jQuery object of this button. So I inspect the button, I get its ID. I get its ID of the button. So I can say ID Anubhav, this is the button ID I take. And now what I'll do is I'll say, please get me the jQuery object. So $ hashtag this. Now, can I do set visible here? Anybody? Can I do set visible here? Right? Haryana code. Why? Because jQuery or HTML object doesn't have this method set visible. This method you get only and only with UI5 object. Does that answer your question, guys? Why the jQuery method or the document.getElementById doesn't give you the benefit? Because they don't have these methods If you want to work with them, अगर लेबल चेंज करना है तो यहाँ पे ये करना पड़ेगा सर आपको, डॉट वैल्यू इक्वल्स टू प्रकाश। अभी भी चेंज नहीं हुआ, देखो, something I'm missing, something I'm missing. This still did not change. Yeah? Something I'm missing, something I'm missing. It still did not change. So you see, it is difficult to work with jQuery in HTML object. But with UI5 object, it's easy. SAP UI get core. That's where it comes into picture. Get core dot by ID. Okay, by ID dot set value. That's what you can do. Set text. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow. Enter, and there you go. You can see view. It became view. That's the beauty of UI5 object. It has these methods which gives you the more power. एक काम करो, try to create this kind of button with HTML5. इतना मोटा दिखना चाहिए वो button. It should look this much fat. And when you take your mouse, you see light color is changing. Don't you see, guys? When I'm taking my mouse on the button, its color is changing little bit. It's getting little grayish color. That is also a benefit you get for free when you use UI5 object, because it does the theming for you naturally. You don't have to apply extra theming. If you remember, in HTML, we have to do extra theme ourselves. We have to apply CSS on each element ourselves. That is the benefit of UI5 framework, because UI5 loads the theme for free for you. You see, this theme it's loading the necessary CSS files automatically. And it understands that automatically. Look at the DOM element. It has the necessary class name added automatically to apply the theme. See the class name, SAP M button text, SAP M button. These classes are added automatically by UI5. When UI5 converted this object, this UI5 object to equivalent HTML object, it added these class names. See SAP M button. उससे ये theme भी automatically आ रहा है. So UI5 loads the theme for you. It loads appends the class name automatically to the generated HTML code, and then naturally it gets you these things for free. अगर HTML से करोगे same चीज तो लग जाएगी, पूरे दिन बैठ के CSS code लिखते रहोगे. Whole day you will keep on writing CSS code if you do this with HTML. इतना benefit तो यही निकाल दिया हमने. In this smallest example, we got so much of benefit with as compared to HTML. You will see some more in coming days, and then you can shut their mouth. If they say that it's, don't listen to people, guys. They will just distract you. जब भी मुंह खोलेंगे demoralize करेंगे. Don't listen to them. Okay? Don't listen to them. Okay. Now let's move on and see this UI5 SDK. So I go back to SAP UI5 SDK. And there I can just check it out. So the first section is documentation. Many people come to me, Anubhav, will you give a book for UI5? Guys, today the book which a trainer is giving you, it's obsolete tomorrow. Okay? Today the book which trainer is giving you obsolete tomorrow, because technology changes every minute. Would you rely on a book which was written 3 years or 5 years back today to learn UI5? If you do that, you will, believe me, open challenge, you can't build the UI5 app which can integrate with Launchpad. In open challenge, if you rely on a book or a material shared with you 3 years back, impossible to build an app which can work with proper things in system, because technology changing every second. Would you rely on outdated book, or would like to rely on latest content, up-to-date documentation? I would say option number 2. And that's where it's available for free for everybody. Many people come to me and about document doge kya? Guys, those trainers who are running behind document, they're cheating you. They are giving you outdated, obsolete documentation. Usko padhoge to bahut khatarnak hai wo aapke liye. It's like they are giving you wrong medicine. That medicine go in your body and produce reactions, side effects. Never do that. Refer latest documentation here, which is provided by SAP itself, up-to-date documentation of UI5. This is the first section where you can see this information. Everything is written here. Bootstrapping, you see? Bootstrapping. See the code for bootstrapping. It's a code for bootstrapping. Bootstrapping from Content Delivery Network. Coincide. See here, this is the code for bootstrapping from CDN. See here. This is exactly what we used. You remember SRC, this particular path for bootstrap, data UI theme, data UI library. We exactly did the same thing. कहाँ से सीखा अनुभव ने? Where did Anubhav learn it from? Anubhav learned it from documentation in UI5 SDK. Is that clear, everybody? The first section, the documentation of UI5, latest and up to date, always available in UI5 SDK for you. Okay. I will come to this question, what is Open UI5? Please hold on. It's a heavy dose of antibiotic right now. Now, next section is API reference. Here is where you will find the documentation for the controls. Which control we use? We use button, search for button. And let's see, SAP M library, button. Inside, and now you will find all the overview for control, the constructor, the properties. What properties? You remember we used a text property for button? Here it is. ये देखो use किया हमने, text property use किया ना, देखो ये रहा. Do you see the text property? Yes, here it is. What is the type? It's a string. What did we use to handle the action? Anybody? What is this press? What was the press? It's an event. Press was an event. Where will you find this event, guys? Where will you find? Anybody? Where will you find the event now? Where will I find the press event information? You see events here. Go inside. Voila! There you go. It's a press event, guys. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You see? Here is the event, man. Clear, everybody? All the methods which you use. You see? We use set text method to change the text. We use set visible. We use set enable. You see? Set enabled. Set text. Set visible. दिख रहा है ये सारे मेथड दिख रहे हैं आपको? These are all the methods this control, this class has. Okay, and everything is here actually. Everything related to that control, what you need is here. Some people are thinking, what is association? I will come to this little later. Is that clear, everybody? Let me give an exercise to all of you and see how many of you can complete that. Okay, so now I've given you the UI5 input, the UI5 SDK. Given you some simple exercise. One exercise I showed you. Let's see if you can complete this exercise. It will be little heavy dose for those who are not watching my session, not listening carefully. Let's give it a try, guys. Even though you are unable to finish it, even though your output doesn't come, important is, did you try? Important was for me, it's, did you give a shit to it? Did you give a try to it or not? If you not giving a try and coming another nahi hua, sorry, it will not help you. You wasted your money in my training. Today I want to give an opportunity to every one of you. If you want refund back, email me. I will give you complete refund and take you out from the training. If you think aapke bas ka nahi hai, you want to give up, write an email back to me. Anubhav, I want my full refund of what I paid for training. Today itself it will be transferred back to your account. You can easily leave my training. It's an open thing for everybody. If you write an email, your deadline is latest by tomorrow, end of the day. If you write back an email, Anubhav, I want to go away from the training. I cannot continue. I will give full refund back to you. I will give full refund back to you for every single penny which you have spent on my training if you don't want to continue further. मगर अगर continue करना है, exercise करके दिखाना है, you have to show that you can do it. Okay? अगर output नहीं आया, no problem. I am happy if your output doesn't come. But I'm not happy if you not give a try to it. Get your hands dirty into code. Let's see what happens. कुछ तो निकल के आएगा, कुछ तो जाएगा दिमाग में, कुछ तो सीखोगे. I want that spirit. At least I gave a try. I want you to try at least. Don't give up. Don't give up. At least give a try. Let your output does not come. It's absolutely okay. You know, first day when I started learning UI5, guys, first day when I started learning UI5, my output did not come for 3 days. But I did not give up. For me, this is my story. I tried 3 days to get a simple button on the screen. 3 days, man. 3 days I tried to get a simple button on the screen. It did not come. Can you imagine? It did not come. But fourth day, the day this button come, I did not stop since that day. I did not stop after that. Fourth day, this was a breakthrough for me. Fourth day, the button have come. Fourth day the button have come. I did not stop from that day. And after that, I created this. उसके बाद मैं नहीं रुका, मैंने पीछे मुड़ के नहीं देखा. And then after that, I created this. And then I've created 46 free videos on YouTube, guys. 46 free videos. 12 videos in Anubhav Learning Series. This is my 20th UI5 batch. This is my 20th UI5 batch. What does it mean, you know? 20 batches I've completed. Each batch has about, on average, 42 videos. Total 840 videos I've recorded till date. Plus 50 additional videos on UI5, demo videos, our learning series videos, 890 videos I've recorded, which comes to around 1.5 hour of each video if you calculate on an average. On an average, I'm saying it will be 1335 hours of UI5 videos I have recorded till date. Till date. Sorry, I cannot reveal the number of students. That is very confidential information, but you can see this much. 1335 घंटे का केवल वीडियो मैंने रिकॉर्ड कर दिया. Do you know how much time it takes? 3 times time to prepare a video. It takes 3 times, which means my study time is 4000 plus hours till date in last 3 years. इतना घंटे मैंने केवल UI5 study किया है. Mind-boggling numbers, guys. That fourth day output of my button has got me till this level. Has got me. अगर मैं third day या second day give up कर देता, so I wouldn't have been able to create this. I wouldn't have been ever be able to meet all of you guys in my life. I created these 46 videos on UI5. Some videos in this, out of these 46 videos, are 2 hours video, 4 hours video, 5 hours video. Yeah. Some videos 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours videos. I created this, guys. If I would have stopped on second day when my output was not coming, you can imagine nowhere Anubhav on the screen. Nowhere. I did not stop. I did not give up. That extra effort, that fourth day, one single button output has got me here, guys. Why not you? Why not you? आपके पास क्या कमी है? किस चीज का कमी है? कोई कमी नहीं है. 2 घंटा रोज दो. Give me 2 hours every day of your life. I will change your life in next 40 hours. It will change. You will yourself change it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. You will yourself change. लोग तीन कंपनी का ऑफर लेके बैठे हैं. 3 कंपनी में इंटरव्यू क्रैक करके बैठे हैं लोग. After my training, 3 companies, do you believe it? 3 interviews. एक साथ 3 कंपनी में ऑफर ले रखा है लोगों ने. Yesterday itself I got an email from one of my student. Yesterday also I got an email from one of my student. She has got 2 offers. Okay. She has got 2 offers. 2 ऑफर लेके बैठी है एक कंपनी में. She got 2 offers. Let me show you that email. Yesterday only I got that offer. Yesterday only I got that email. She got 2 offers. 2 ऑफर लेके बैठी है एक कंपनी में. So guys, this is what will happen. Okay. This is what will happen when you work with dedication, when you work with passion. Nobody can stop you, believe me. Not even God can stop you. भगवान खुद धरती पे आ जाएंगे, तुम्हें रोक नहीं पाएंगे. Believe me, अगर practice करोगे, if you practice with heart, with full passion, nobody can stop you. Nobody, not even you yourself. I used to spend just 2 to 3 hours a day when I started it. उसके बाद नशा हो गया UI5 का. And now today my sitting hours is 8 hours. 8 hours a day of study on different topics. On different topics, not just UI5. आज तो नशा हो गया है पढ़ाई का. I don't like going anywhere. I don't like enjoying any party. I don't like doing anything. Yes, though I do exercise every day for about 1 hour. 45 minutes of exercise every day. Physical exercise I'm talking. It's important for your health. It keeps me get going. At least 1 hour to 2 hours of physical activity, very important for each one of you. Please utilize that time for yourself. 2 hours of study, 1 hour of physical activity, be it just walking, running, gymming, whatever you like, swimming, whatever you like, just do that. Important, because that's what keeps you get going for years and years. I never miss that. I never miss my gym for about 1.5 hour. I never miss that. I always go to gym every day, no matter what situation. I always go to gym for 1 to 1.5 hour. That's very important. That's what keeps me get going for years and years. Exercise for all of you. Design a UI5 screen with an input field and a button. When user click on button, display the text entered in input field that pop up. That's an exercise. Just a quick hint for all of you. What you can use is control name is sap.input control. This is the control you can use for input field. Okay, that's what you can use. Input field. That's an exercise. So now what you need to do, design a UI5 screen to the input field and a pop-up, sorry, a button. When you click on the button, it should display the text now. Is that clear, everybody? That is what you guys have to do. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. In next class, we will see the solution of the exercise and we'll move towards MVC architecture. Guys, you're just stepping towards something, a new era of UI5. I'm sure many of your doubts are there in your mind, but just follow the session at least for 4 or 5 more classes. Abhi, this is not the time to ask questions. This is the time to practice. After 4 or 5 classes, when these things are settling down in your mind, that time you will ask meaningful questions. Abhi, the questions which you ask is just confusion. So please stay with me for 4 or 5 more classes. Once we get into some comfortable stage on UI5, that time you will ask good questions. Okay, you can ask questions, no problem, but some things will be heavy dose, like Open UI5. What is it? I'm going to explain that in upcoming days. Okay, cool. Okay, Naga, I think the issue, Naga, with your name is probably when you registered for GoToMeeting, it was registered as Harita. Maybe that is why it's coming.
Gotcha. Okay. Got it. Sorry. Actually, I am using my wife's laptop. That would be the reason. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right, Anubhav. Thank you.
Great.
I will correct.
The jQuery video, let me check it, guys. I will try to fix up the issue. If not, then maybe I'll find out a workaround and share it with you. Let's see you tomorrow.